So today we're going to be going over how to use the breakdown mode, and this should work on both iOS and on Android. So sorry guys before if you couldn't hear me talking, and I was talking to myself. So what I've done is I picked out an inspiration picture from the feed in Vinci Eye, and we're going to just quickly map out where we want this drawing to be on the paper. So I want the top of the head to be, let's say, right about here. So I'm going to move this up to the pencil. And I want the bottom of her head to be right about here. So I know that roughly it's going to be here on the page. So now I'm going to do the breakdown mode. So breakdown mode is called step-by-step mode on Android. So it's available on Android and on iOS, and it is one of the coolest hidden features that teaches you a lot about shading, seeing values, things like that. So I'm going to turn the breakdown mode on. I'm going to turn my phone like this so you guys can see it. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. So breakdown mode breaks down your picture into layers. See if I can adjust the focus a little bit. Anyway, so it breaks your picture down into layers. So right now we have 4 different layers, or you can call them steps as well. So if you're doing something for Inktober, this is the mode that you want to do it in. So let's say if we wanted to break it down into just 3 steps, it would look like this. We can mess with the exposure a little bit as well to make it lighter or darker. But I think this is about the way that I want it. And what we're going to be doing is having cutout mode turned off. I'll do a different tutorial with cutout mode turned on, but we'll do it turned off for right now. So as you can see here, we have different layers, and I'm going to do it like this so you can see it a little bit better. So number 1 right here is the lightest layer. Number 2 is a little bit darker, and number 3 are our darkest layers. So and then the negative space would essentially be more highlights or the light. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with the lightest layer. And I'm going to take, this is just a 4B graphite pencil, solid graphite pencil. And usually you want to do it with a light pencil, or if you want to do it with a light wash, we're going to just start coloring in. And this is almost kind of like a paint by numbers effect in a way. But we're just going to start coloring in the red parts. So all this is showing you where you should be coloring. And the cool thing is, if you didn't know about this, when the move button is pressed, you can move the picture around. But when the move button is unpressed, it's locked together. So you can zoom in, so you can do fine details, or you can zoom out, and you can see the picture more as a whole. So I'm going to turn the opacity down. So you do the opacity by pressing opacity. And I'm just going to lightly color in the red. Now, I want to try and make this a quicker tutorial for you guys, so I'm not going to pay too much attention to the detail here, because I want you guys just to get the general idea. But I'm very, very lightly, kind of almost, I'm going to use more the side of my pencil, actually. And I'm just coloring in the red. Very lightly coloring it in. So this is almost like paint by numbers, and it's cool because it teaches you a lot about where the lights and the darks go. Also, if you were drawing freehand instead, you would be doing a similar method usually, depending on what you're doing, where you're finding the lightest and darkest areas and then layering on top of them. So you'll see where that's kind of going in a minute. So again, just very, very, very lightly. Putting down kind of a base layer here. Also, if you guys have any questions, I'm not really looking at the feed too much at the comments, but if you do, I have Teresa here, who she will let me know if you guys have any questions, because she's kind of keeping an eye on the comments also. So, oh, I see somebody here says anime. We can do an anime tutorial. And actually, if you go in the app, in the lesson section or the learn section, there's some tutorials for how to draw anime, which is kind of cool. So the lesson section kind of has a similar structure to this, where it has step-by-step lessons that teach you more the fundamentals of drawing, and then you can kind of trace along. So that teaches you how to add kind of structure. So now that we've got this first base layer down, so it looks really light. Here, I'm going to turn the opacity all the way down so you can see it's just super light. And the idea is that this is just the base layer, the first layer. There you go. Now we're going to go on to the second darkest layer, and I'm still going to use this. And all we're going to do is we're going to layer on top of it. So we're just going to color over where we colored before, but you can see that it's a little bit different now. See? So just going to layer over where we were before. And this time we want to pay a little bit more attention to the details. So we want it to be a little bit less loose than before. And the idea is that you don't have to press down too much harder or even harder at all, because you're layering one layer on top of the other, which automatically makes it darker. And you can see that I'm zooming in just to see where I need to draw. And then I'm using just one finger and moving it around so I can follow it. Now, again, I'm also kind of doing this, like I said, a little bit quicker than I normally would, because I want to not bore you guys too much. But I promise I'll do a full, very long tutorial if you guys ask for it. Not this one, of course. So, another thing about breakdown mode is that you have the ability to make tons of layers. So you can do, I think, like 10 or 15 layers, but you don't usually want to do more than 4 or 5. And usually 3 is about the right amount. Because the idea is that it just lays down the basic shading for you of your lights and your darks. Okay, so now I'm going to do the darkest layer. And now for this, I'm going to stop using the side of my pencil, and I'm going to angle it down a little bit more, so that way we get a little bit darker when we're coloring over this. So it's just a little bit different of a pencil angle, and that's really it. And I want to pay closer attention to the details. And we still don't want to make this crazy dark. You don't want to press down too hard on your pencil, or else you're going to get something called graphite sheen, which makes it reflective and shiny, and it doesn't look very good. So we want to try and avoid that by just layering as much as possible and not pressing down. So this is the hair kind of area. And for this section, I'm choosing to do kind of vertical strokes instead of kind of diagonal like I normally do. And that's just because this is the hair. Now I might switch it up. And by the way, these are things that you kind of clean up afterwards. For areas like that aren't the hair, it's nice you can go in little circles, small little circles. That way you can have a smooth and consistent stroke. So it looks like that there aren't lines in your drawing. Go here. Darken this. So if you are getting ready for Inktober, this is a very cool mode to check out. And once we get into October, I want to start doing some inking tutorials. And we might be using this a fair amount to reference where our absolute darks go in our drawing. So now I'm zooming in on the nose so I can get the nose detail there and right there. And this area below is a little bit less in focus. So it's going to color that darker. All right, so now you can see that the face is starting to really take shape. I'm going to turn the opacity down all the way so you can see it. So looks like there you go. So you can see that the face is starting to take shape, and it looks pretty cool. But now we're going to add some final kind of finishing details that are going to make this look awesome. So I recommend to either use a more of a sharp 6B or higher, or you can use a mechanical pencil kind of with a softer lead as well. So now, after you're done with the different layers here, 1, 2, and 3, the fourth picture is the picture of what it's supposed to look like when it's broken up all together. And this is the picture in black and white that we're supposed to be working on. So now I'm going to turn it all the way up, and I'm going to use the strobe function. Now this is the best tool. It's kind of like a comparator mirror, and you're going to turn the strobe on. And what this is going to do is this is going to flash the original image, the reference image we're trying to draw, over the paper. So we can constantly compare back and forth what we've drawn and what we're trying to draw. So I'm going to zoom in, and I usually like to start with the eyes, just because, it's fun. And I'm using my 6B, because I'm just going to hit the darkest darks now. And the darkest darks are the eyelashes. And we are going to have an awesome video by one of our instructors on how to draw the eye, which you guys should check out soon. We're going to be launching this amazing series of drawing instructions, not done by me, done by much better artists than me, in October. So keep an eye out for that. They're going to be IGTV videos, and amazing, amazing artists we have. So what I'm doing here is I've zoomed into the eye just to get the fine details. And for the most part, we have where the shadows are supposed to be fairly right. So we don't need to do too much of that. We're just doing highlights on the darkest areas, just getting fine detail. There's a little line, and very, very lightly. Even though we want these to be really dark, you never really want to press down. We want to let the pencil, the softness of the pencil, do all the work for us. Okay, so now we have the eye, and it looks like we're just going to follow the wisps of the eyebrow. Hey, Seth's here. Hey, Seth. And now we're going to go down to the nose. We're just going to, and when we're doing this, we're not trying to do lines so much. We're just doing very soft circles, trying to hit the darkest darks here. And then if we want to, we can go back with a lighter pencil, kind of fill in the gaps a little bit. I was thinking about going and not doing the nose ring, but why not just do a little bit more detail? All right, and I'm going to go in and do the lips. Now again, what's cool about this strobe feature is that if you wanted to, you can go in and get insanely accurate details because you can see exactly where you need to draw. Now, the lips, I'm actually going to take a 2B pencil and I'm just going to lightly color in, very lightly, using the side of the pencil, just to give a little bit more detail. Actually, I want to try and dull it just a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit of hatching. I want to do it as light as possible. We also have a really, really great tutorial on how to draw lips coming up soon. So keep an eye out for that. Very excited. If you can't tell, I'm very excited about the instructors that we brought on board. So looks like there's a little bit of shadow here. Clean that up a little bit. Nice. And while we're here, we'll do a little bit more around the nose. Just soften it up. Cool. A little shadow underneath. All right, nice. All right, so now that I have the, I think we're going to do the other eye. Switch back to the 6B. So one thing too is that I'm keeping these bars up here, so that way you guys can follow along and see what I'm doing. And if you wanted to hide them, you can just hit the hide button and it takes the bars away so you can have the entire screen. And if you want to bring the bars back, you just hit that red button in the corner. So that's another useful tip. I keep them on here so you can kind of follow along with what I'm doing. And I know it kind of minimizes the screen size for you, but the hide button is really cool and really useful. I do use it quite frequently when I'm not showing instructions on how to use this. So it really helps. Just kind of clears away distraction also, which is nice. So still, you do not want to press down too hard. And if you want to make areas darker, then what you want to do is just keep layering over them. Okay. Now we'll clean up the hair a little bit. Draw the outline of kind of where the hoodie is so that we can go back, do that later. Do the top of the hoodie over here. Now, I'm not getting the details of the outline of the hoodie like too crazy accurate, but that's just kind of a choice because I like having most of the detail be in the center of the face, and then kind of gets a little bit more sketchy towards outward. more because we want the focus to be in the middle of the face. It'd be kind of weird if the focus was like the right side of the hoodie. So I find that it's okay to keep these areas kind of sketchier. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at where the hair is, and I'm going to follow the strokes and the pattern of kind of where the darkest darks are in the hair. And if you look at hair, a lot of different tutorials on how to draw hair out there. Usually you want to visualize it in blocks first and then kind of go in and do those blocks. But a lot of different ways to do it. I'm just going in and making kind of wispy lines, kind of short strokes, doing the dark areas first and then doing the lighter areas second. Also, I'm not going to spend too much time doing this because I don't want to kill you guys with a super long video. For the outline of the face, you can see that there is kind of a dark line here. So I'm just going to very lightly draw that outline. And you can see that I'm just kind of following the strokes of the hair right now. Using the side of the pencil more. And also, if you wanted to now, you can go in and you can do a little bit of blending, but I'm not going to do that. So I think this is looking pretty good. We could do a little bit more as far as details, but I think that's pretty good for just showing you guys how the breakdown mode works. I'll do a little bit here. And now we have the picture from Danielle. And there you go. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever about how to use Vinci Eye, any questions about doing this tutorial, anything like that, then let me know. My email is sam@davinciieapp.com. sam@davinciieapp.com. And I can answer any questions that you have. We usually respond super fast, so let me know. So it seems like somebody said, I didn't know that we can work with layers, so it was a really good tutorial. Thanks. Non-clone. Awesome. Cool. I'm glad that I could help some of you guys. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. I hope you have an awesome rest of your Sunday, and enjoy the rest